terrific facility, needs a lot of work, but no one has been known to escape from Alcatraz and survive.
Tonight, a tour of Alcatraz by top Trump administration officials renews the discussion about reopening the notorious prison that was shut down more than 50 years ago. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum got a firsthand look at Alcatraz today. They say they are starting the process of reopening the shuttered prison that is now a popular tourist destination. KTVU's Greg Lee followed them on their tour.
Golden Gate is the busiest national park in the United States. Alcatraz historically has been one of the key portions of it.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum arrived at Alcatraz for a guided tour of the infamous prison turned tourist attraction. In an interview with Fox News, the two cabinet members confirmed they are looking into President Trump's directive to reopen a federal prison on the island.
This could be a prison to house the worst of the worst. It could house illegal aliens. It could be multi-purpose, but we need beds for prisoners in this country.
The president made the request in May, saying a prison on Alcatraz would serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice. The Rock closed in 1963 due to high costs and crumbling infrastructure. Some estimates put the cost of rebuilding and reopening at $250 million, and that doesn't include the operating cost. It's part of why former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calls this the administration's, quote, stupidest initiative yet.
Is very, very expensive at a time where they're taking food out of the mouths of babies to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars.
We need more capacity, and this is Alcatraz is the brand known around the world for being effective at housing people that are in incarceration.
The delegation took a Coast Guard boat back to Fort Baker, and Burgum took a solo tour of Presidio National Park, where he was less willing to speak about the prison.
Secretary, what did you see on the island today that gave you any thoughts?
We're going to support Presidio here with the stop and the visit and the tour, and we're not going to take any questions.
The Presidio, Alcatraz, and Muir Woods are all part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, a designation given by Congress in 1972. The process to reopen a prison would have to start with legislation to remove environmental and park protections, requiring a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate.
They can't do this without going through Congress. They just can't. And so we will have to use everything at our disposal to fight against what they are doing, to protect the protections.
Governor Newsom's office echoed Pelosi's sentiment that they believe this is a distraction from other issues. A spokesperson wrote, quote, Pam Bondi will reopen Alcatraz the same day Trump lets her release the Epstein files. So never. It is unclear if or when any legislation concerning the repeal of the protections of the island might be brought up in Congress. Greg Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
And for more on today's visit, we talked earlier with David McEwen, who's the chair of the Political Science Department at Sonoma State University. He says he believes reopening Alcatraz is not a serious proposal.
The rock itself, Alcatraz, is decrepit. And there's a lot of opportunity to do things in the National Park Service and with other dollars that could be channeled even in the criminal justice system. So this seems much more like a stunt and a political distraction, especially given an administration that's kind of searching for its message the last week or so.
Alcatraz has been part of the national park system since the 1970s and attracts more than 1.5 million visitors every year. Today, the U.S. Justice Department asked several California counties for lists of all the inmates in their jails who are non-citizens, along with their convictions and release dates. The counties include Los Angeles and San Francisco, where sanctuary laws forbid local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. The DOJ says if departments don't provide that information, they potentially could issue subpoenas. Today in Sacramento, cameras captured federal agents chasing down a man suspected of slashing their tires during an immigration enforcement operation. Agents tackled the man and took him into custody. Authorities say a total of 10 people were arrested during today's raid, which happened outside of a Home Depot store. The Trump administration will hand over information on 79 million Medicaid enrollees to federal immigration authorities. This will include addresses, birth dates, and ethnicities. The agreement means ICE will be able to use the information to find undocumented immigrants. A Homeland Security official suggests the agreement will help to ensure undocumented immigrants aren't receiving Medicaid benefits. Democrats, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, have criticized the administration's data sharing agreement. Today, people are taking to the streets all across the country to protest President Trump's policies. Organizers dub these protests "Good Trouble Lives On." It's a tribute to the late congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis, who often said it's important to engage in, quote, good trouble, necessary trouble to achieve positive change. Now, one of today's protests happened outside of an ICE office in downtown Phoenix. This was the scene. Demonstrators called for an end to President Trump's immigration crackdown. Another group was spotted rallying on a pedestrian bridge nearby in the city of Tempe. Let's turn now to talk about our weather here in the West, and we are following a developing story in southern New Mexico tonight. Heavy rain is causing flooding in some parts of Ruidoso once again. Several water rescues have happened in this community already tonight, and this is the same area where just last week 3 people were killed during severe flash flooding. Wildfires hit this region last year, and that left behind burn scars, and of course those can produce some of those really heavy and dangerous debris flows. For more, let's bring in KTVU's chief meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is following the storms that are hitting some parts of New Mexico. Hey, Mark.
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, monsoonal moisture back basically dominating the pattern once again for today. You can see a very active radar for parts of New Mexico is becoming closer to those scenes you were just seeing on with that video. There's a Ruidoso picking up on some of the radar coverage from earlier today. Now, in terms of the flood watches, you can see here all these areas in green. We do have flood watches and some isolated flash flood warnings in place showing up on this map for tonight. As we come in closer, we'll show you some of the storm reports just updated today. You can see a few scattered in that area. We'll come in closer. This one showing you this one report from earlier today, with a road closure, obviously due to the intense rainfall, and also access to some areas inaccessible because of the heavy downpours and the stormy conditions out there. So we'll keep an eye on the radar for that portion of the west. In Seattle today, another day of some really warm temperatures. A heat advisory that will expire 8 o'clock this evening up in the Pacific Northwest for Seattle. For the San Francisco Bay Area, there's that familiar fog bank out in the distance. 65 today in San Francisco. And then in Phoenix, picking up on a few high clouds, temperatures 101 degrees earlier this afternoon. We'll check out the current readings out there right now. Phoenix has cooled off to 98 degrees. Las Vegas, 90. Los Angeles, Southern California right now, 67. We're watching out for the chance of some showers for tomorrow as that monsoonal moisture kind of moves into portions of California. And it's a warm evening up in Portland and Seattle right now. Temperatures still in the 80s. Here's a look at the satellite. Once again, we have the fog out hanging out just off the California coastline, and some showers and thunderstorms out toward portions of Colorado. We talked about New Mexico. Here's the plan for tomorrow. Still increasing clouds up in Seattle, some fog for the Bay Area for the morning hours. A chance of a shower in Southern California. More sunshine out toward Phoenix, and about a 20% chance of some thunderstorms in the Denver area. Here's the forecast model, the updated Fox weather model here. We'll take this into the afternoon hours and look what happens. Some more development, some more showers and thunderstorms that could develop in southeastern Arizona, out toward New Mexico, parts of the Rockies, and we still have the marine layer clouds just out there in the Pacific. Showing you this, the forecast for a few cities, as you can see, Olympia 74, San Jose in the Bay Area, upper 70s, Palmdale, Southern California 95, and Tucson, Arizona 102 degrees. So the heat is moving out, fading away quickly in the Seattle forecast. Temperatures back down to the 70s. San Francisco, lots of fog in the morning. We'll keep an eye on that shower chance for the Los Angeles area for tomorrow. And then Denver, temperatures still close to 90 degrees, and looks like some sunshine in the Phoenix area for your Friday forecast. So some areas cooling off, some areas remaining pretty hot, as you would expect for parts of the West Coast into the weekend. Alex.
Mark, thank you. Okay. A parole agent was shot and killed today in the Bay Area, and tonight we've learned a suspect has now been taken into custody. This all unfolded around 12:45 this afternoon at a building in Oakland that's used by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Sources say after the state parole agent was shot, the suspect took off and then carjacked a bus nearby. A witness saw that suspected shooter being taken into custody, and then they say the person was taken to the hospital.
We just saw them just like gathering around, the people just the cars being stopped and being moved to the other side, and them just gathered with with the what's it called, the vest. That was just it. We didn't see like them. We didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. We just saw them rushing in.
Authorities have not released the suspect's name or the name of the parole agent who was killed in today's shooting. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, some tense moments caught on camera in Colorado, how state troopers used a grappling device to stop a suspect during a pursuit. Plus,
these are all potential leads, Mr. President, the Department of Justice ought to be digging into.
A U.S. Senator from here in the West says follow the money. Tonight he reveals what's in Treasury Department files related to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Newly released dash camera video shows how Colorado State Police used a grappling device to stop someone who was driving a stolen pickup. This pursuit unfolded yesterday in Denver as troopers started chasing the truck that they say was reported stolen. At one point during the pursuit, a trooper deployed that grappler. It shoots out a net that attaches to the back wheels of the vehicle it's chasing.
Even though it did cause a crash, it was a safer way to apprehend this vehicle. It helps us to apprehend a vehicle without having to do what's called a tactical vehicle intervention. You know, the ones we know as where we spin the cars around. So it's a safer tool that we use.
State troopers say the suspect was arrested shortly after running from the scene of that crash. The suspect's condition is unclear tonight. The state trooper who was involved in that crash was not injured. Oregon Senator Ron Wyden says the Treasury Department has files that may shed light on Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking investigation.
File shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere.
Today, the Oregon Democrats spoke on the Senate floor saying Treasury Department files show how Epstein moved more than $1 billion through one of his bank accounts. He wants those files fully investigated. These files are separate from the files at the center of the controversy that's swirling around the U.S. Justice Department. President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi are facing criticism for not releasing information in that investigation. Today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the president is not interested in appointing a special prosecutor.
The idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the attorney general, I'm not sure.
Oregon Senator Ron Wyden says following the money will lead to answers. People involved in the case of a man who admits he killed 4 college students in Idaho can speak freely tonight. Today, a judge lifted a gag order in Brian Kohberger's murder case. But as Fox's Garrett Tenney tells us tonight, the public won't get the full scope of this investigation until after Kohberger's sentencing.
I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order.
The gag order in the Brian Kohberger quadruple murder case has been lifted. A judge ruling in favor of a coalition of media organizations pushing for more information, and now that a trial planned for August is no longer happening.
I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case.
Earlier this month, Kohberger bypassed a lengthy jury trial by pleading guilty to the brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students killed more than 2 years ago. The plea deal took many by surprise as the case gained nationwide attention, and we still don't know what prompted the killings. It's a point the defense stressed when arguing against lifting the gag order.
The publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase.
The judge's ruling will now allow those involved in the case to speak publicly, but sealed documents from the investigation won't be available until after sentencing, a process the judge warned could take months.
This case has existed under an extremely strict gag order for far too long. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories that have come out of it, a lot of conjecture that's come out of it, and I think it's about time that we start to know exactly what took place and some of the investigation that was done.
Kohberger's sentencing hearing is set for next week. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has agreed to settle a lawsuit that was brought by shareholders over the company's handling of a major user privacy scandal. A trial was underway in Delaware, where Zuckerberg was expected to testify. The case accused Meta executives of ignoring a federal consent order, leading to billions of dollars in fines after the Cambridge Analytica data breach. Shareholders had sought $8 billion in damages. This settlement here and the terms were not disclosed. Both sides have declined to comment. Two Silicon Valley-based companies have plans to fight wildfires from space. Fox's Sunny Sai shows us the technology they're planning to use.
Earlier this year in Southern California, we saw wildfires consume entire communities in a matter of minutes. Now, Google and satellite company Muon Space are trying to prevent that from happening again. They're launching fire-spotting satellites into space, hoping to detect fires quicker and help crews learn more about how they spread.
We'll be able to see fires that are smaller than a swimming pool. That's sort of, at least 10 times and close to 100 times smaller than any of the existing satellite systems can see.
Muon Space and Google's mission is to help firefighters respond to wildfires faster and provide them with a tool for battling them.
FireSat is explicitly designed with very high-resolution thermal cameras that can see fires when they're very small early in their life, but can also map them once they get very large.
Muon Space launched their first fire satellite in March. By 2030, they plan to finish their final constellation of 52 satellites, providing global coverage and producing new thermal photos of fire-prone areas every 20 minutes.
What we'll actually get to fire agencies is not those pictures, though. We'll give them higher-level products, things like the perimeter, like a drawing on a map. You can think about it of where the current fire perimeter is, intensity map. So you can think about sort of like a heat map of how hot is this fire burning right here.
The company's partners are also confident these satellites will provide a big boost for wildfire education, response, and prevention.
We will be able to see the full evolution of fires from when they start until when they finish, and that helps us model fires better.
We need to understand how hot fires are, to understand where we can attenuate or tune our suppression strategies.
Kate Dargan worked with CAL FIRE for 30 years. She witnessed firsthand the devastation wildfires cause. So she and CAL FIRE are very excited about these satellites.
It will be, I even hesitate to use the word game changer because firefighting isn't a game, but it will be a huge change for the firefighting community.
Muon Space and Google will release the first images of fires captured by the satellite later this month. The 3 satellites they plan to launch next March will be able to send new information back to Earth every 12 hours. In Mountain View, California, Sunny Sai, Fox News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, an Arizona man travels across the country to make an out-of-this-world discovery. Tonight he shows off what he brought back home. Plus, a 13-year-old receives a top ranking in the world of pickleball. Tonight she shares more on her love for the game.
It really gives me a rush and exhilaration when I'm playing that I really love. She wanted me to give it a try. I did reluctantly, and I fell in love with the sport.
For an 18th consecutive year, a 66-year-old man has completed the 135-mile race through one of the hottest places on Earth. This is called the Badwater Ultra Marathon, and for the last 48 years, 100 runners from around the world have run through Death Valley, California to get to the finish line. This race happens in July during the park's hottest season when temperatures can soar up to 130 degrees. 66-year-old Danny Westergaard joined the ranks of runners for his 18th year.
Yeah, my first year was 2007, and I was just going to do it 1 year just to see if I could survive the heat. And I've come back every year since. A lot of it is external heat management, so lots of ice. So you'll put ice in your hat, you wear an ice bandana full of ice so it's constantly dripping down your back.
Over the nearly 2 decades he's been racing, Death Valley has experienced environmental changes. 7 of its hottest summers on record have occurred in the past 10 years. Well, pieces of a meteorite have a new home here in the West. Fox 10's Steve Nielsen spoke with the Arizona man who tracked down the site where they landed on the other side of the country.
When the average person sees a meteorite fall on dash cam video, we just say, wow, how cool is that? Robert Ward jumps on a plane. It's go time.
He opens the glass display case, revealing his latest treasure.
So this is the largest piece of the Georgia fireball that I recovered.
Robert Ward has turned his Prescott, Arizona home into one of the world's largest meteorite museums. Call him a meteorite hunter. He, like us, saw this video, but for him, it was the start of a chase.
It came in at fairly high angle, and looking at the radar data, we could tell that everything was in a fairly small area. So you're going to have a high concentration of stones in a short ground track.
The fireball was caught perfectly on dash cam. NASA confirmed a meteor crashed into Earth high above Georgia. As it entered the atmosphere on June 26th, NASA says it was going roughly 30,000 miles per hour and unleashed the equivalent of 20 tons of TNT. One resident even reported a chunk falling through their roof. Robert Ward used technology to track down a probable landing site.
We have the ability to track individual stones, clusters of stones, in a way that's never been possible before. The technology's advanced, our interpretation of the data has advanced.
It wasn't long before he spotted the unique rocks on the Georgia soil.
How do you see that and go, that was from the meteor?
Well, you know, when you're working with them all the time, it's just like a car collector, you know, somebody that analyzes autographs or oil paintings or whatever. You learn what to look for.
He found 10 meteorites in all. The largest he carefully cleaned, weighed,
73.2 grams.
And examined.
Oh yeah, wow, this has glassy fusion crust.
Now it's on display in his museum.
A new meteorite that just came from outer space. I mean, just a few weeks ago, this thing was orbiting the sun.
The hunt never stops. Next up, he's chasing a witnessed meteorite fall here in Arizona. Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
Can't wait to see what he finds next. Finally, tonight, a teen from Arizona is now the top player in the world in her age division in pickleball. That is 13-year-old Kelly Goodnow from Flagstaff, who started her career a little over a year ago. Her background is in tennis, and time on the pickleball court helped get her to #1 for players under 14. She's ahead of the #2 player by 450 points.
I love how fast-paced pickleball is. I love how there's always something going on, and it really gives me a rush and exhilaration when I'm playing that I really love. I was a huge tennis player, and I was actually really anti-pickleball. But my mom took a pickleball clinic and she loved it. She wanted me to give it a try. I did reluctantly, and I fell in love with the sport.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. She's continuing to develop her skills both on and off the court, including meeting with a sports psychologist to improve her game performance. Wish her the best of luck. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And a quick reminder before we go tonight, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're following at westcoastwrap.com. Have a good night.